Whereas the participants' VO2 max results can also have meaning in terms of their sport. The participant used in this study plays football regularly at the position of fullback. Because in football, a fullback has a very physically demanding role, it would be expected that when compared to normative data, the participant's VO2 max score would replicate one of the higher categories. This is backed up by the fact that, according to the English Premier League website, a fullback known as George Baldock is in the top 20 players for the most minutes played in the 2019-20 season. The fact that a professional player who plays in the same position as the participant is known for playing a lot gives weight to the suggestion that the participant needs a strong VO2 max score to sustain the long amounts of exercise required in their position. According to York 2017, a Premier League player's VO2 max, which is the maximum or optimum rate at which the heart, lungs, and muscles can effectively use oxygen during exercise, is between 60 to 70 milliliters. Based on this information, it can be pointed out that an elite athlete like this player in the Premier League usually obtain a VO2 max result of 60 to 70. Therefore, in terms of the participant's Queen's College TEFTA result, it can be suggested that the participant is fit with the same cardiovascular and respiratory attributes as an elite athlete. This puts them at a significant advantage against opposition players in game. This is because they don't currently play at such a high level as the Premier League. Therefore, as it is unlikely that the opposition players as their level will have such a good VO2 max result, the participant will be able to outlast them to a significant degree. This is also replicated within their multi-stage fitness test results, but not to as a higher degree as the Queen's College Step test. This attribute's importance in the participant sport is backed up by the DNAfit.com in 2020 when stating that the primary indicator to determine how good you'd be at aerobic exercise when analysing VO2 max implications in sport, in turn implying that because the participant sport is mainly aerobic fitness based, they are currently still in a strong position to perform well. More specifically, they will be able to transport and use oxygen to a high standard when competing. Consequently, when performing an action such as quick movements to beat an opposing player, they will be put in an advantage over them. This is since the opposition player won't have the physical capabilities to keep up with the participant's quick use of oxygen to contract the appropriate muscles. Furthermore, as shown by the statistics from the Premier League, the participant's position will require them to endure aerobic exercise for long periods of time when compared to other positions on the pitch. Based on their VO2 max result, they'll be able to cope with the demanding aspect of their position, in turn, meaning that the performance will be strengthened by being able to perform the required actions. However, although now the participant using the study is at a very strong position to physically perform in their sport, it doesn't mean that they will always be in such an ideal candidate. This is because the physical capabilities that they currently possess need to be maintained, which gets particularly harder with age. As a result, as they progress through their career, the VO2 max score may reduce and become weaker. This will particularly have a large impact on their performance due to the increase in running that their positions needs them to do. And now moving on to the strategies to improve, which is just up here. So that the participant is able to improve or sustain their already elite VO2 max readings, a series of fitness sessions have been provided. These have been catered around the goal of ensuring that they keep a strong cardiovascular and respiratory system, therefore being endurance and circuit-based. Furthermore, it's recommended to use this session on the left at first, while progressing onto the right when wanting to progressively overload their results. They're mainly interval based, and they consist of a warm up and the actual training techniques, and then a cool down to prevent injury. Now moving on to the discussion. So the only way to truly determine the validity of a test is by comparing the data to a gold standard version and seeing how far it differs from that. However, the gold standard test of gas analysis for VO2 max is often very hard to access due to its high cost. As a result, if there are any comparisons between the gold standard test and the indirect test, such as multi-stage fitness test and the Queen's College Step test, that are far more accessible, then a researcher can feel more confident when trying to estimate an individual's VO2 max results. The Queen's College Step test can be assessed based on its validity by trying to see whether it measures what it is supposed to measure. Because it does ensure that participants are put under a period of steady-state exercise, it is mostly guaranteed that they will be working aerobically. Furthermore, as previously mentioned, the aerobic state is what is required to measure an individual's VO2 max. therefore meaning that there is a high chance that this test possesses strong validity factors as it does measure aerobic fitness. The validity of the Queen's College Step Test is emphasised by Mukherjee 2002 when conducting a study on the validity of Queen's College Step Test on young Indian men. This is because he stated that the results suggest the Queen's College Step Test can be applied in the studied population to produce a good estimation of maximum oxygen uptake, especially in the field where large numbers of participants are to be evaluated without a well-equipped laboratory. Based off this quote, the validity of this test is supported as it was found that it produces a good estimation of maximum oxygen uptake. However, this quote from Mukherjee also supports the retest reliability of the Queen's College Step Test. This is because it mentioned that it's good at working on a field where large numbers of participants are to be evaluated without a well-equipped laboratory. Therefore, meaning that it is capable of consistently providing reliable data for a study even without a well-equipped laboratory. This is a significant benefit to the test as it means that our research can rely on it for being valid and reliable without having to use gold standard procedure instead. In addition, the ecological validity of this test is heavily supported by Bennett in 2015, when their study into the validity of the submaximal test to estimate maximal oxygen uptake in healthy adults found that the step tests provide a simple, effective, and ecologically valid method of submaximally assessing VO2 max that can be implemented in a variety of situations within the general adult population. Because of this quote, the argument that can be made that the Queen's College Step Test has a strong ecological validity because it's easy to access for any researcher. Furthermore, as this isn't the case with the gold standard test of gas analysis, the overall strength of the Queen's College Step Test is increased, as it can be mentioned in such a positive manner, despite not using the sophisticated equipment as gas analysis does. Furthermore, the quote also indicates the fact that it can be easily generalized with the adult population. This is because it doesn't require participants to reach exhaustion to provide data, and in turn can be used throughout the adult population. Whereas this isn't the case with the gold standard procedure, as someone who is perhaps older can't use it, consequently increasing its accessibility. Whereas, in terms of accuracy, it could be argued that this test is hindered. This is due to the nature of the test being submaximal. Because of this, the Queen's College Test is forced to partially alter their findings in order to provide an estimation. This will affect the accuracy of the method by moving the results further away from participant true VO2 max value. Jackson in 1996 backed this up by stating that submaximal tests use heart rate response to submaximal power output to estimate VO2 max. Thus, any factor that alters heart rate response reduces the accuracy of the test. Therefore, when compared to the strong accuracy of the gold standard procedure for measuring VO2 max, the Queen's College Step Test is significantly worse off. On the other hand, the internal validity of the multi-stage fitness test does lack in some areas. This is because a key factor of the procedure is having the participant turn every time they complete one shuttle. Although for much of the test the participant aerobic fitness is being measured, this turning aspect does mean that possibly their agility and flexibility in lower parts of their body are being tested. For instance, as a participant goes to turn around to prepare for their shuttle, they are required to use their agility to fulfill quick and smooth movements and their flexibility in the spine to turn around. Therefore, depending on how agile or flexible a participant is, this could mean that they need to stop the test too early. This means that the test isn't only measuring what it's supposed to measure, aerobic fitness, and instead affecting its results by also considering the overall fitness of an individual. This suggestion is backed up by these results show that when applying an arguably more appropriate analysis method, the multi-stage fitness does not provide valid predictions of VO2 max. This quote or that quote was from Jackson in 1996 as well. Whereas in terms of reliability, the test could be subject to being affected by the motivation of participants. For example, so that a multi-stage fitness test can be reliable for a single participant, it requires them to complete it more than once. However, the extremely repetitive process of this procedure may mean that a participant might finish their test at an earlier time than previously since they are unmotivated. This will have a significant effect on the reliability of the results as the same data won't be reproduced. In turn, meaning that it might be hard for a researcher to generalize the data in the future, as there could be significant differences in findings. The possible issues with motivation of a participant is supported by Woodham in 2014 when stating that another disadvantage of the bleep test is that the results can be subjective, and if the individual completing the bleep test is on their own, they could slightly alter their results. In addition, the accuracy of the multi-stage fitness test can be argued as strong. This is because you're using the online calculator to convert the results into a relative value. This test accuracy is benefited using the calculator as it limits the chances of human error taking a toll on the data, therefore meaning that the results have a higher chance of accurately representing the correct results. However, Walcott in 2016 criticizes the accuracy of the procedure by expressing the regulated by expressing that regulating the test with large groups becomes somewhat difficult, as it is hard to track which athletes have repeatedly failed to reach the end line before the bleep. This quote from Walker gives off the indication that in some aspects of the test, human error can affect the accuracy. This is because the researcher may struggle to judge exactly which participant did and didn't manage to complete each shuttle when there are many people along their line of sight, consequently discrediting the test accuracy when compared with the gold standard procedure of gas analysis. Since the gas analysis only involves one participant being tested at once, it doesn't face the issue of possibly ruining the data by allowing some participant scores to be higher than they should be. To conclude, the multi-stage fitness test precision can be suggested to be limited. For instance, even though the test portrays its versatility by being able to be performed inside and outside, the results may be affected. This is because when being performed outside, the participant scores may be hindered by possibly slipping over due to weather, therefore possibly causing only some samples of data to be far away from their average result. And I'm going to stop that there. Yeah.